The Japanese, believed you had to go to school, get good grades. And so when I said, well, how do I be rich? Well, I go to school. And I said, wait a minute. All of my uncles and my aunts and my grandfather and my father and my mother, they all went to school. They're still poor.
This was his lesson number one, and the rich don't work for money. My education had to go beyond getting a job, which I had a good job. But I now had to start when I left school, about your age. The thing I focused on first actually was commodities. So back in 1972, I started buying gold. It was illegal for Americans to own gold. Can you imagine that? Back in 72. Today you have Bitcoin. It's different. Everything is changing so rapidly today. So I started with gold, but actually the next thing was actually oil, because I went to school to be a tanker officer driving ships for Standard Oil. So I understand oil. So my wife and I don't own Standard Oil or Chevron or Exxon. We own oil wells. Again, taxes. You get no tax breaks for owning paper oil. Huge tax breaks for owning real oil. And then I went into real estate. Why? Because I can use debt to buy real estate. And because I use debt, I pay no taxes. And then third, I started my business, my first real business. I had many businesses as a kid. But my first real business was a nylon and Velcro surfer wallet business. And I went worldwide right away. The trouble is I was an idiot, and the business went up, and the business came down. What kept me alive was this and this. Okay. So you may say, well, aren't you working for money? But we'll go into that next. I don't want what's called a paycheck. I want cash flow. So that's what I mean by the rich don't work for money.
Say, go to school. And they say, but I learned nothing about money. Get a job, you become an employee.
Yeah.
If you're an employee, you work for money. I pay taxes. Then they tell you to save money. Why would you save money when the government's printing money? And get out of debt. Well, debt is money. I use debt to get rich. Most people use debt to get poor and invest in the stock market. I don't invest in the stock market. So when you wonder why so many people struggle financially, is they haven't challenged the hypnosis, the words, go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, get paid taxes. Until you question those hypnotic trances, you don't change. So when I was a little boy, I had poor dad and rich dad, saying,
in your head.
He's saying, go to school. My rich dad goes, what a waste of time that is,
Right.
And the way my rich dad taught me is just playing Monopoly. 4 greenhouses, 1 red hotel. I learned about money. I learned to be a capitalist, not an employee. I don't pay taxes. I use debt for money. And I don't invest in the stock market. And when I say that to adults, they get angry at me. So, well, that's what I've done. I said, well, that's why you're poor. But when I said to young people, you have a chance yet. You have a chance. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying question the hypnotic trance put in your head, because that's what keeps people poor.
In this segment, I want to talk to young people who have not yet decided what they're going to do for the rest of their lives. Maybe you're in school or about to get in school or whatever you're going to do. But as I said, it was my poor dad always said, go to school and get a safe, secure job. Unfortunately, in this financial crisis, many young people are coming out of school deep in college debt or college loans, and they can't find a job. I saw some stats that for young men 18 to like 25, if you're white, 19% of them are not finding jobs, even if they have a college degree. And for African Americans between 19 and about 25, 30% of them can't find a job. So my message to you is this: is wake up. right now, before you get a job, before you get trapped in the corporate world trying to climb the corporate ladder and make other people happy, and they don't really care about you because they're only here to invest for you guys only want for the investors, you know. You got to make a decision. And it was in 1974 when I came back from Vietnam. Again, I said, my poor dad, I said, go back to school, get my master's degree, and get my PhD. And I wind up just like him, desperate, out of money, not afraid of the real world. So I had to make the decision to dedicate my life to be here and to be here. And that's made all the difference. You don't get rich quick. It's harder, it takes courage, it takes time. I failed many times over here. But in 1974, I said I was going to dedicate my life to stay on this side, on the right side, on the B and the I side, and never go back to this one. So even when I was flat broke, when my businesses failed, I didn't go back here. I thought about it. And unfortunately, when I still go back home to Hawaii, I meet some of my uncles and aunts, and they still say the same thing to me. They go, have you got a job yet? And I said, no, I don't. They go, oh, too bad. It's so bad you're unemployed. The point here is they can't see it. These guys, all they know is job security. They don't know what freedom and having a lot of money is. All they know is living below their means, struggling, paying taxes, trying to save money. So I recommend to you, start your own business. Start now. Practice. It takes time. You won't make mistakes. But it's one of the best experiences because if you're successful and you persevere and you're determined, you will find the freedom and an abundance of wealth these people can never.
I make a lot of money, but I give a lot. You know what I mean? It goes to biblical principle. The more you give, the more you receive. So when I meet somebody who's doesn't have any money, it just means they're not giving something. You know, so a lot of times there's people who would like more, but they're not giving anything. So they're like my poor dad. You know, he belonged to the labor unions, and he wanted to work less and get paid more. Well, that's anti-religious to me. Yeah. If you want to get paid more, work more, give more. That's how I see it.
So I always look at failure as an opportunity to learn and get bigger. Unfortunately, our school system teaches kids that if you make mistakes, you're stupid. And in real life, the people that make the most mistakes are the smartest people. You look at when I play golf. You know, I go out there, I practice, but I don't practice 1/100th of practice making mistakes. You practice to make mistakes. Right? So guys like Tiger Woods, guy Jordan Spieth, McIlroy, they've made more mistakes than I ever did. So the guys that make the most mistakes in life win, except in school, because you get punished for making mistakes. So it's just in your mindset. And so when I lost my first company, it was great. I lived on the street. I was homeless. Got yelled at a lot by my investors. It was building self-esteem. And I said, I'll pay you back. You know, you trusted me. I messed up, but I'll pay you back. And it was that spirit. It's called the entrepreneur spirit. I rebuilt the company, took it out of surfing, and took it into rock and roll. So I was working with Duran Duran, Van Halen, the Police, all the bands. And we pulled out our bankruptcy. I never declared bankruptcy, but I paid back my investors. I still had no money, but I paid back my investors.
Like I said, our schools can't do that. Corporations can't do it. So the Midas touch is 5 things you must remember. Number 1 is the thumb, which is strength of character. You fail, stand up. Don't lie, don't cheat. Don't just stand up, own it, keep going on. Strength. This is focus. You know, the index finger. This is where I'm going. And I talk about how I went to flight school, you know, preparing to fly in Vietnam. You know, people are shooting at you. You're still going to stay focused on your target, even if you get killed in the process. This one everybody knows. This is what you stand for, you know. So Donald stands for the absolute wealth. And what I stand for is very simple: financial education. Keep it simple, you know. Teach people to manage their money. So I stand for that, and I don't ever get off that track. The ring finger is for relationships. If somebody is struggling financially, be it a company, a country, or marriage, it's because you have a bad relationship. And the thing that Donald and I always say is that you can't do a good deal with a bad partner. God knows I've had some bad partners. And they're just incompetent, but they want to pretend they're smart. And then the little one is a little finger.
Every entrepreneur must do something that nobody else does. For example, in the United States, Walmart, their whole system of business is designed to give you the lowest price possible. Everything. Whereas a little mom and pop store don't say, well, we'll put things on sale. That's not the same thing. FedEx says overnight. That was their whole thing. They built the whole company around that little promise. Domino's Pizza in America was pizza in less than 30 minutes. So the entire business was built around one simple little promise. And those are the things that make entrepreneurs extremely rich or extremely poor. They don't have those five.
Most successful entrepreneurs have gone bust. Henry Ford, an old-time entrepreneur, he went bust 5 times. Look at Steve Jobs, his own board fired him. Bill Gates was taken before the Supreme Court for monopolistic practices. Even my friend Donald Trump went down $1 billion. I only went down $1 million. So the average person is so afraid of those losses, they never get ahead. Because at school they teach you if you make a mistake or if you fail, you're a failure. But that's not real life. A baby learns to walk by standing up and falling down, standing up and falling down. And our school system punishes you for making mistakes. That's why my poor dad, an academic, was so unsuccessful. He was terrified of making mistakes. They use the word again, it's called spirit. It's called the entrepreneur spirit versus the employee spirit. They're very, very different. Because from the spirit goes to mindset. An employee will always use the same words. I want a safe, secure job with a paycheck and benefits. That's not a very strong spirit. Whereas an entrepreneur will say, hey, I fell down, stand up. That's all there is. And I've fallen down, it was $800,000. It's not a lot of money. But to pay it back from nothing, it required a lot of spirit. So a lot of people talk about trust in God and believe in God and all this stuff. If you're an entrepreneur, you better live it. You better have a spirit that's so strong, cannot let other people's opinions and criticisms. At that point, we started to learn. You see, I learned a lot from my last business. Let me take what I learned from my last business and put it into this business. The same as I said, I was surfing. When my nylon business went down, I took what I learned and transferred it to rock and roll. And then I transferred it into education. So today I'm an entrepreneur in education. I teach entrepreneurship because I understand what entrepreneurship is. The other thing that qualifies me to be an entrepreneur, or a teacher should I say, is I'm one of those kids that didn't like school. School was good for people who like school. But here was my poor dad, head of education, PhD, on the governor's board of Hawaii and all this stuff, and his kid, me, and I'm flunking out of school because I can't read, I can't write. I said I couldn't read, I couldn't write. I was bored out of my mind. I just hate. So what I did instead was that's when I met my rich dad, who was my best friend's father, and he used these things called a game. So games are the best teaching tools. So when I'm playing this game, this is how the rich taught their kids battle strategies called chess. My rich dad taught me to be a rich man playing Monopoly. He played Monopoly hour after hour. The formula for great wealth in Monopoly is 4 green houses, 1 red hotel. So today in Arizona, I have 8,000 green houses. Several red hotels. I just played Monopoly for real. So that's the power of a game, because a game engages me mentally, physically, because I actually have to move it, emotionally, because when somebody knocks me out, I better wake up. I made a mistake. And spiritually, because it's spirit that wins. If you just saw Golden State play everybody's, I love LeBron James, I love Cleveland, but one guy cannot take on a team. If you want to stay small, be the smartest guy on the block. And that's why most accountants, most attorneys, most doctors never get rich. It's because they're too narrow. They're experts in toenail removal or something, Or my attorney, that poor guy is an A student, he knows jack about outside of it.
Whereas I never had, I flunked out high school twice because I can't write. It's irony that I'm a writer. But the reason I'm pretty good is because in the military we're taught to be generalists, not specialists. So when I sit down with my team, I have accountants, I have attorneys, I have media guys, I have IT guys, I have graphic designers and all this. So I operate as a team, since I don't know anything. So in actuality, being a great entrepreneur means I could be the laziest guy and I can know the least. But I have to have a very smart team, which is the ring finger around me. So because I was never smart, I have respect for people who are smart. And a lot of times I meet A students and they think they're the smartest guys on planet Earth. And that lack of respect will keep them small. And that's what most corporate guys want to do. Stay small, you gotta climb that corporate ladder, you gotta beat the other guy to win the job, and it's all that stuff. It's not the way an entrepreneur really works. It's corporate. It's school system. You gotta beat out for the grades, you gotta have best grades. I don't have to be the best, but I have to hang out with the best.
In 1997, when I released Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that book caused a bit of an upset because I said, your house is not an asset. So in today's world, if you want to be rich, you have to know the difference between assets versus liabilities. One of the reasons so many people are struggling financially today is simply because they're calling their liabilities assets, such as your house is not an asset, your car is not an asset, and things like that. So very simply, when I was a young boy, my rich dad taught me, he says, you have to understand a financial statement. So this is an income statement, this is a balance sheet. Now this is overly simplified. He says what creates something to be an asset is very simply assets, cash flow money into your pocket. And a liability takes money from your pocket. So for most people, their houses are not assets or liabilities because every month it takes money to live in that house. Even those that say, well, I don't have any debt on my house, I paid it off. Look, you still have insurance, you still have upkeep, you still have maintenance. So let me explain this. I'm not saying don't buy a house or don't buy this and all this. I said, if this is a house and I rent the house out and every month it's putting money in my pocket more than my expenses, then that house is an asset. Now that very same house, if it goes unrented or somebody trashes it or whatever they do, that very same house can be a liability. So a house can be an asset or a liability depending upon the most important word in business. It's called cash flow. Once again, if cash flows into your pocket, it's an asset. If cash flows out, it's a liability. Think of it this way. If you stop working today, how much cash keeps flowing in? That's from assets. And if cash keeps flowing out, that's a liability. So I'm not saying don't buy a house. I'm just saying don't call a liability an asset.